My name's Jake Colton, and I live on a massive rural property outside Clearwater, Florida. No ranch, no farm, just open land. My dogs and one horse named Whiskey. I like my space. No neighbors for acres, until Karen bought the small lot next to mine. From the jump, she rubbed me the wrong way. First time we met, she walked right up while I was fixing a fence and said,
"How much do you charge? My yard's a mess."
I told her I owned the place. She looked at me like I told her I was an astronaut. Her tone was condescending. Her attitude was pure HOA president in training. She hated my dogs, complained about Whiskey.
"This was supposed to be a peaceful neighborhood, not a petting zoo,"
she said once. Most folks out here have animals. It's part of the life. Karen didn't care. She wanted everyone to adapt to her idea of tranquility. Then the real mess started. Drop your city below. We want to see how far this story has reached. One weekend, my buddy Clint stopped by and casually mentioned he'd seen Karen walking around my land with a group of people, pointing at trees and flagging spots with stakes. I had no idea. The next day, I caught two strangers on my land with measuring tape and survey flags. They said they were Karen's cousins and, get this, they bought the land and were preparing to build. I told them straight up, this land isn't for sale and never was. Their response? Karen sold it to us last month. You're the one trespassing. I didn't even get a chance to argue because, like clockwork, Karen rolled up in her SUV, smug as ever, arms crossed, like she was watching a Netflix drama unfold. She had the gall to call the police and me claiming I was harassing her family on her property. Cops showed up. I explained it was my land. I pay the taxes. I've got years of ownership, but I didn't have any documents with me. Karen spun her tale about subdividing land for her family. One of the officers just sighed and said, "This sounds civil, not criminal. You'll have to settle it in court." Karen smirked like she'd just won a chess game.
"See, he has no proof,"
she said.
"because it's my land now."
I knew I needed to act fast. She wasn't just an annoying neighbor, she was a full-on con artist. The next morning, I drove straight to the county land office, grabbed the official parcel map, and confirmed what I already knew. The land was mine. Not just legally, but on record with taxes, deeds, and everything going back years. Karen? Her property barely made up a third of an acre and wasn't even connected to the area she claimed she sold. While I was there, I asked if they'd heard of her name before. Turns out they had. She'd been flagged in previous disputes involving survey confusion and had a reputation for trying to edge her property lines illegally. This wasn't her first rodeo. I started piecing together the full scam. Karen had convinced multiple family members they were buying legitimate parcels. She drew her own map, collected deposits, and promised unmatched rural investment opportunities. One of her nephews even tried bringing in a mobile home before the court put a stop to it. I wasn't going to let this slide. I hired a land dispute attorney and laid it all out. Karen selling what wasn't hers, the fake map, the trespassing, and her attempt to weaponize the police. My lawyer filed a property fraud claim, and we demanded an injunction against her entire family setting foot on my land. Court day arrived and Karen looked confident until her lawyer saw my paperwork. Certified county maps, tax receipts, and aerial property photos compared with her laughably fake map that looked like it was printed off Google Earth and drawn over with a Sharpie. When the judge asked where she got her version, she stammered, then said,
"It was passed down from the previous owner."
My lawyer showed that the prior owner had sold only to me 10 years ago. End of story. The judge didn't just rule in my favor. He issued a no trespass order on Karen and any buyers she misled. He called her actions borderline criminal, but we weren't done yet. As news spread around the neighborhood, Karen's family realized they'd been scammed. Furious, they turned on her. She tried gaslighting them.
"Jake's just jealous of our success."
But it didn't work. Two of them filed separate suits to recover their deposits. One even apologized to me, saying, "We thought you were the crazy one. Turns out it was her." But then came the best part. About 2 weeks after the ruling, I got a knock on my door. It was an investigator from the state's Division of Real Estate Fraud. Apparently, one of Karen's scammed relatives had filed a formal complaint. Once the investigator looked into the situation and cross-referenced her name, Red flags started popping up everywhere. Karen had a trail. Turns out Clearwater wasn't her first scam. She had tried to sell property in 2 other counties. Once claiming to represent an out-of-state developer, another time forging a quitclaim deed to a retired neighbor's land. In both cases, she weaseled out of prosecution by claiming it was a misunderstanding and returning partial funds. But this time, she trespassed, lied to police, sold property she didn't own, and dragged her entire extended family into it. And this time, she messed with someone who wasn't going to roll over. The state brought multiple charges against her: real estate fraud, criminal misrepresentation, and unlawful practice as an unlicensed broker. She was arrested, mugshot, fingerprints, the works. The news spread like wildfire. One of the local Facebook community groups blew up with the story. Karen K. charged with scamming family over fake land deals, the headline read. Hundreds of comments poured in, neighbors sharing their own Karen encounters, some admitting they'd always suspected she was shady, others simply tagging friends with popcorn emojis. Karen was done. She tried to spin it, of course. Went on social media claiming it was all a vendetta against her, that I had fabricated the whole story, that her business was legitimate, and she was being persecuted for being a successful woman in real estate. No one bought it. Her family turned on her instantly. Every single person who bought fake land from her filed lawsuits to recover their deposits. Some had drained their savings. One guy had even quit his job thinking he was about to build a homestead. Karen refused to return the money. She claimed she already spent it on administrative fees and permits, but there were no permits, no paperwork, nothing but lies. At her preliminary hearing, I testified along with 2 of her cousins and a county clerk who confirmed her forged map didn't match anything in public records. The prosecutor laid it out perfectly. This was not a misunderstanding. This was a long-term, calculated scheme for personal gain. Meanwhile, Karen's social life imploded. No one talked to her. No one waved back. At the grocery store, people walked the other way. I even saw a few folks loudly whisper, "There goes the fraud lady." The gas station stopped serving her. Local contractors refused to do work on her home. She couldn't step outside without feeling the weight of the entire town watching her. Eventually, she packed up and left, moving out in the middle of the night like a coward. I watched from my porch as her car disappeared down the road, trailer hitched behind, her porch light left swinging in the wind. The land is quiet again now. The stakes are gone. No strangers trespassing. No cops on speed dial. And me? I reinforced my borders, put up new private property signs, and got to know the rest of my neighbors a little better. Turns out, most of them had been keeping an eye on Karen too, just waiting for someone to finally stand up to her. If there's one thing I've learned through this mess, it's this. You can lie to your family, fake a map, and play pretend realtor all day long. But when you mess with someone's land out here, you'll get buried under more than just paperwork. And Karen? She buried herself.